Hello, my name is Darren Chapman. I am in our Technology Advocacy Group, and I'm a Principal Technologist here at Cohesity.
Hi, I am Siddharth Mishra. I am in the product management team at Cohesity and I look after our analytics product.
So today we're actually going to discuss our Analytics Workbench, or AWB application. AWB is actually a layer on top of our data platform. AWB has a number of tools which we're going to discuss more as we move into the discussion. One of the key features of AWB is the fact that we have a number of sources that may be data sources for Cohesity that may land on our cluster. Once it lands there, AWB is there to analyze, to do analytics based on a number of different inputs. What makes us unique in the industry, especially as a analytics tool, is the fact that we have our own native implementation of MapReduce. Customers also have the option of creating their own, or they can actually clone a MapReduce. And the last option that a customer might have is the ability to load a jar file.
Sure. So Darren, do you want to delve into what pre-built applications we provide as part of the Analytics Workbench?
Sure. As Siddharth mentioned, there are 3 pre-built tools in AWB. Those 3 tools are Pattern Finder, Password Detector, and Video Compressor. We're actually going to dive in a little more in just a moment on the Pattern Finder application itself. Siddharth, since you own and oversee the product Analytics Workbench for Cohesity, could you dive into the Pattern Finder a little more for us?
Sure, Darren. So as you know, in today's world, enterprises are faced with requests about compliance a lot. They want to determine what sort of data is stored within their secondary storage, which files have sensitive information, and do they need to move around the files or take certain actions on them. But the first step is to figure out which files have that information. And that is what the Pattern Finder app does for them. It helps them determine and look inside the data stored within Cohesity. So what you can do with the Pattern Finder application is you can either point it to a particular object such as a VM or a job, select the specific view that you want to run against, and then define what do you want to search for. Do you want to search for US SSN? Do you want to search for a credit card number? Or do you want to define your own pattern? You can actually define your own patterns and save it. And then you can just run it. It will run against the entire data set that you specified, and then it will provide you with the files which contain that particular information, the number of instances that particular pattern that you were searching for came up, and then you can accordingly either decide to take some actions on those files or just keep a report for compliance reasons that these were the files which contained this information. Not only the Pattern Finder app searches for one pattern at a time, but it can be used to search for multiple patterns at once across a variety of file types. And a lot of this is based on the goodness of Analytics Workbench that you mentioned earlier, one of them being MapReduce, which we are going to look at next.
Siddharth, since MapReduce is a key component to the overall architecture in the application, could you possibly dive into a little more detail around the solution itself?
Sure, Darren. So as you know, Cohesity's file system SpanFS has MapReduce natively built into it. Now let us look at how it helps for running an AWB app. So whenever you type a search query into an AWB app such as Pattern Finder, what actually happens is it takes the input from SpanFS, distributes the query across all the nodes. So essentially this is the map step where on each of the nodes the query is sent, and then all the files on those nodes are scanned. And then each of the nodes passes on the output for their particular search into another node, like into one node, and there it reduces all the results from each of the nodes and then aggregates the output back to SpanFS. And this is the output that you see on the AWB UI after an app run. Now, 2 key things to note here is that it is a natively implemented MapReduce. There is no external reliance on any other file system such as HDFS or any other file system. The other thing to note is that Cohesity is the only secondary storage player which has this natively implemented. None of the other secondary storage players have MapReduce functionality natively built in, and this allows us to do a lot of analytics magic that we do.
So what I'm gathering from Cohesity's implementation of AWB is that we treat secondary data as much more than just an insurance policy. Via AWB, we allow customers to light up secondary data. And from day one, it seems that Cohesity has literally treated secondary data as much more than just a backup.